it's me. I'm back again. We are back for part 3 of the Procreate Beginners series course, which is available on their YouTube page. And in this one, we create a little spacey kind of planetary artwork. But before they get you to do that, they teach you how to make stacks, and they teach you how to rename your artwork and your stacks. So I didn't know about this. Well, I knew about naming canvases because you just kind of tap on it and write the name in. But if you drag and drop one canvas on top of another, it creates this thing called a stack, which is essentially like a folder. And then you can make a folder for each collection of artwork. So I actually, after this session, I stacked my entire Procreate database. So I have a stack for all the artwork that I've created for doing the Procreate course. I've got a stack for all of my D&D stickers. I've got a stack for all my commissions that I have. I've got a stack for these kind of witchy themed art cards that I've been working on. And it does actually make it a lot easier in terms of navigating where things are. And I don't know if other people have this, but for me, I need a space or what I'm working with to be kind of tidy and clean and ready for me to then do it. If it's kind of all over the place and there's stuff in different folders or not in any folders and it's just a bit chaotic, it can be a bit overwhelming. So it was nice that I was able to do all the different stacks for my Procreate app, so that was really nice. Anyway, onto this artwork that they get you to create for this session. I got a bit sidetracked. So this session they do a kind of planetary, spacey themed artwork, and they get you to set the page up quite nice and easy. So obviously you've got a nice blue background here, and they start off by getting you to create 4 different circles all within each other. So that's just what I'm doing at the moment. But they also take you through the transform tool, which is the one that looks like a little mouse cursor, and they get you to play with the different options at the bottom. So if you can see at the bottom of my screen where I was just there, you've got freeform, uniform, distort and warp. So they take you through all of them. So uniform is obviously it keeps the same proportions of the shape, it just changes the size. Freeform, you can manipulate one side at a time, and then distort and warp are a little bit more jazzy. They kind of help you to either obviously distort the shape or warp the shape in different ways. I'm not quite sure what the difference is, but if you have a play around with it, then you kind of get to grips with it quite well. So they also get you to practice copying and pasting. So you kind of copy and paste the same circle onto each layer, and then you pop it inside. And these are essentially going to form the rings around the planet that you make. But they use it as just a little lesson to teach you how to copy paste and kind of edit the layers and that kind of thing. One of the handy little tricks that I also learned through doing this session was if you tap on a layer, so you'll see me tap on the top layer in a second, and then you swipe towards the right with the ones underneath it makes them into a group far easier. So you can just click group after that, and then it's all done. Beforehand I was dragging and dropping them, so kind of how the stacks, you drag a canvas and you put it on top of another one to make a stack. I was doing that to make groups, so I was selecting a layer, dragging it on top of another one and just dropping it into the same group and doing that again and again and again. So if I have 20 layers for one thing, let's say I'm drawing a butterfly, and there's 10 different layers or whatever, I was doing that 9 times when I could have just swiped and it would have been easier. So that was a handy little sort of hack that I guess I will definitely be using going forwards. So after you have done that and grouped all of the rings together, they get you to colour drag and drop into the middle 2 to make a thicker one, and then merge them down together. So that's why there's a thicker one in the centre. But one of the things I didn't quite realise when I was doing this was the brush that they get you to use is quite pressure sensitive. So I had to kind of go back in and over, because there was some bits that you can see where it was like a lighter shade. Well, not shade, but like it was not as much pressure, so I had to kind of go back round through it. So yeah, that I had to do that. That was all right though. And then they get you to drag and drop it into a couple more, and they get you playing with the threshold toggle that we've talked about previously, where you have like a percentage line that comes up at the top, and it sort of bleeds the colour fill into the outline so that you have one complete shape. So once they've got you to do that, they then have a look at getting you to change the colour of the centre circle, because that's going to become the planet now. So they have you pick like a nice little pink colour, and to just drag and drop that in there again. So you do get quite familiar with like the colour dropping tool. It's kind of handy. And then what they get you to do is merge the other two layers, and they're the ones that now become the planet rings. And they will do that by using the transition tool that I was saying earlier, that had like the uniform, warp, distort, freeform. So they bring that up again here, so you can see that at the bottom. Oh, and they also take you through the snapping tool. So you can see on the bottom left there's a little sort of like thunderbolt, lightning bolt thing that says snapping. That's so handy, and I really have it on before, but it's quite good. It's quite useful. It just shows you like which sides of certain shapes are aligned with others, or whether or not your shape is directly in the center of the page. So like they get you to use it at the start, where they make sure that the planet, like the first circle, is inside the very, very center of the page, and it comes up with two like cross-hatched lines. But essentially for the planet rings, they get you to use the warp tool to put the circle as if it's like on an edge, and then you drag it across, and in a second you'll see that they also get you to then rub out or like use I think it's a clipping mask they get you to use to rub out the bit of the planet rings that would be at the back as well. One of the things they also take you through is the like shape editing features, which you can see that I'm sort of playing around with here at the bottom, and I hadn't really used these before. I think they just work on like normal basic shapes, kind of like what we're using now, but you edit it, you have different options for like editing it. So here you can just see that I'm like editing the rings out of the planet so that it wraps around it, but it does it in a way where it makes like a perfect edge, and you don't have to kind of worry about being like neat. You can just scrub out the bit that's required. One of the things they also, I forgot to mention this earlier, but one of the things they get you to do when you have the 4 circles right from the very start, they get you to like copy the group. So they teach you how to copy a group as well, which I think you just swipe left and click duplicate on the group. But this then comes into play towards the end of the session, and this is going to be, so the duplicated group of rings is going to be used to shade the colour of the planet. And stay with me. Basically they get you to use the same circles, and you get to like colour drop into them, but then you play with the opacity of them, and they kind of act as like gradients between the shades and the tones, and then they teach you how to put that onto the pink shape, onto the pink circle that is the planet, to give it some texture. But obviously as well, like, because when I first drew the circles I wasn't quite on it with the pressure of drawing them, so the opacity is a little bit different. That's why I had to like go back into these ones as well and correct these ones, which is a bit of a pain, but it's all a learning curve, so we'll get there. The bit that I was talking about is coming up now. So if you watch on the screen, they will get you to drag and drop the colour into the circles. So I'm just doing that now. I had a bit of an issue with the threshold thingy taking over, or the circle being complete. Because if the shape isn't complete, then when you drag and drop the colour, it will like turn the whole screen the same colour. So I just had to play with the threshold and what have you, and make sure it was all completed as each circle needs to be like a complete shape with no breaks in it. So here you can see you've got the shapes all on top of each other, but what I've had to do is go into tap into each layer and then drag the opacity down to 50%, and because they're all stacked on top of each other, obviously putting them all at 50% gives them that graded tone that sort of gradually changes. Then get you to create a clipping mask for it so that you can pull the circle that's got the different tones on it. You can pull it onto the planetary shape, onto the pink circle. You can see it doing a little clipping mask there and then just pulling it on top of it. But because it's a clipping mask, the only bit that actually shows through on the planet is the circle. As in I explained that really bad. So the rings of different tones, the only bit that is shown of them on the screen is through the lens of the pink planet circle, so you only see that part of it. I hope that makes sense. I think it makes sense. Fingers crossed. After you've done that, they actually also add another layer that goes through the clipping mask, so through that lens of the pink planetary circle, where they get you to use the splatter brush, it's a spray paint kind of brush on the top right hand side to add a little bit of a highlight on the planet, which is quite cute. The next part of it is they get you to duplicate the layer of the planetary rings, and we're going to use the I don't know how people say this, if it's just different people say it different ways because of their accent, but Gaussian blur or Gaussian blur, I don't know which way is the correct one, but it's an option on the Procreate app, and it is essentially a tool which makes things look glowy. So that they get you to duplicate the layer of the planetary rings, and then they get you to add Gaussian blur to one of those layers to make the planet look glowy, which is very nice. After that, they get you to hide the planet, and they're gonna take you through making the background. And I hadn't played with this tool before, but it was really fun, and I definitely want to use it again. They get you to draw just 3 simple lines, and then they take you through different editing tools in the adjustments menu, and I really like this. It was so much fun. What's on the screen now really gave me kind of Arcane vibes. If anyone's seen the Arcane series, it's on Netflix. Love that so much, just as a side note. But that effect there that has all the spiky bits coming off of it, I was that's really reminding me of the Arcane magic, and how they have those white and kind of very pale blue balls of arcane magic, and how they go a bit crazy. I don't know, yeah, I just really liked it. But that is not the aim of this piece of artwork. The aim is to create a nice backdrop for our little spacey planet to sit in. So they get you to use, I think it's called twirl. You have twirl left and twirl right, but when you draw a circle with it, it makes the kind of paint on the screen go in this kind of goopy kind of almost 70s vibe kind of way, which is quite cute. And then you just pick that up as a whole layer and twist it and change the opacity, and drag it and drop it at the bottom to then put the planet back on top, so it creates a really nice background, which I think you'll see in a second. But they get you to put some black spray paint at the top and change the opacity. I wasn't really sure why on that. I thought it was cute without it, but there we go. Each to their own. I guess maybe they get you to do it because they also get you to play with the different colour options on the layer. So if you can see where the opacity was being changed, there's obviously all those different other options for how that layer interacts with the layers below it. And they get you to have a little play around with that too. But here's our little planet. It's going on the top. And then the next thing they get you to do is they get you to add some mini planets around it, just to kind of fill the rest of the canvas. They do this by getting you to use the selection tool, which in the top left hand corner you've obviously got gallery, and then you've got 4 icons. So the third one along is the selection tool, and you can create simple shapes from here. So they get you to add 3 circles, which all go onto their own layer, and then they have you colour in the base colour of them. They have you just move them around to where you want them. So I wasn't quite happy with where they were positioned, so I just give them a little move around. But then, yeah, they talk about obviously like light as well, which is quite a nice addition. They don't really touch on it until now in terms of shading. So they talk about how obviously all the planets are going to be the same colour, but then you use the splatter spray paint brush to add a bit of highlight on them, and they get you to do it in different colours. So obviously because there's pink at the bottom of the circle for the main planet, that's why they get you to add a bit of pink onto the bottom one, but then the other 2 are going to be the same colour as the planetary rings, because of the Gaussian blur that they've got from shining off of them will reflect onto the other 2 planets. And that's it. That's the artwork. It is now done. I'll put a little screenshot up of it, because for some reason on the video recording it's gone all like blurry and weird. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, bye! Gaussian blur? Gaussian blur?